Barrier Fencing Supply is a fencing wholesaler and distributor based out of Supply, North Carolina. Whether you need fencing, fencing products, fencing accessories, or various other construction materials related to your fencing needs, we have the products you are looking for at today's most competitive prices around. Ask us today about bulk pricing packages. Call 910-269-8661. Contact us by email at sales@barrierfencingproducts.com. Barrier Fencing Supply, proud supporter of the Voice of Victory Lane podcast.
Hey, good evening, race fans, and welcome back to another inside edition of the Voice of Victory Lane podcast with Kip Thompson. We just heard from one of our big sponsors, Barrier Fencing Supply out of Supply, North Carolina. Really excited to have them as a part of our team. And also tonight's show is being brought to you in part by Atwell Exterior Services out of Greenville, North Carolina. Trevor Atwell and Team Atwell Racing, great, big, huge supporters of dirt track racing. And we're going to hear from them as we close out tonight's show. So tonight, let's go ahead and jump right in the show. We've had an exciting weekend. It has been one for the record books. It's one that we're all going to remember for a long time. Let's go down to Rockfish Speedway and check in with Bill Dover, track promoter. Hey, Bill, you and I have done Facebook Lives before together and been on in separate locations doing Facebook Lives together. But first time we've ever had you on our show as a real podcast. So, hey, man, welcome to tonight's show. We're glad to have you.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Kip. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be part of the show tonight.
Well, it's going to be an exciting show because we got a lot to talk about, man. What a phenomenal weekend at the Rockfish Speedway. Had 4 classes of racing. We had the 270s there. The mod lights were in the house. Had 600, the micro sprints, non-wing cars, and, real good field of cars. But, right from the start, a little extra early drivers meeting for the junior sprints. It was really all about the kids, Bill. And let's just go in, man, feed off of one another, and let's talk about how special that night was. First of all, before you get started, I want to thank Arnold Sandy with Sandy's Backhoe and Hauling, also Jaden Bolin Motorsports, and, of course, our whole entire crew, the Voice of Victory Lane podcast. We all put together a big little deal for the kids, and also to Willie and Crystal Milliken, man, with Team Wild Child out of Roanoke Rapids, putting another $100 on top of the winner. Bill, I mean, for junior sprints, it don't get any bigger than that.
Yeah, no, it was a huge night for the junior sprint. I'll also add to you, Kip, John L. from the safety crew at Rockfish gave additional money for second and third place on top of the money that the sponsors had given, plus the Wild Child. So, I mean, it was just a great night. Everybody was excited. The kids were pumped up from the rip at the early drivers meeting at 4:30, which was ahead of the regular drivers meeting, which gave them a chance to just have their own little session. The T-shirts, I mean, from that moment on, they were pumped up even before the start of the practice of races or anything.
Yeah, right before that, the regular drivers meeting that you guys have, we kind of did a little deal there where we had done a different color of any type of Voice of Victory Lane apparel that we had done before and sold in the past. And so we did kind of an exclusive junior sprint color, kind of the Rockfish theme there a little bit with the red and the white and the blue and also the checker flag. Man, if I wasn't so dirty from all that 480-some degree sweat I had on Saturday, Bill, I'd have it on tonight to kind of show it off to everybody. But it was super exciting. And, just to see the atmosphere building, man, before that race started, you could tell right from the start it was going to be one heck of a show.
Yeah, I mean, it was hot as blazes, like you said, but not bad for a rainy day, right? I mean, everybody was calling, canceling, they had us rode off. But the AccuWeather at Rockfish has been pretty good to me, and it showed a shower at 3. That's what happened. And, one little sprinkle, it didn't hurt us at all. But, yeah, they were pumped up, and they were at the gate early, 12:30, and the gates don't open till 3, and they were lined up at 12:30 ready to go.
Well, we knew right from the drivers' meeting, and then once you got into hot laps, and then you got into the heat races and qualifying and everything, driver introductions, man, we're getting ready to go feature racing. And to see those cars slanted like the old days of having Tampa and Star super late models, I didn't know. I knew that you guys were going to bring the kids out there, and I was going to do the driver introductions like I have before, at Rockfish. But, man, when I saw them slanting them sideways, man, it was like old school. And, man, I was starting to get pumped, and the kids started feeding off of it. And right from the driver introduction, man, it was just a really huge deal. I tell you, I want to give huge props, man, to all of the families, the moms and the dads, and all of the people who are there, man, that are very instrumental in the lives of those children. It's so cool, and it's heartwarming to see parents cheer for other kids just as if it's their own kid. And that's just kind of like the community that what you have down there, Bill. And man, it is without a doubt something special.
Yeah, it was pretty good. And, we were committed to it fully this week because anytime you have chance of rain with racers there from way out of town to take the time to stop, line the cars up at the angle like the old Tampa cars and get them out of the car and do driver introduction, which trust me, Harvey and Jerry were all over the parents making sure as soon as their name was called that they were getting buckled in so we could get going. But, it was worth the chance that we took, and it all worked out, man. It was just awesome for the kids. I've had several parents all day today at work today, texting, calling, saying that was pretty good.
Well, and another huge highlight for the kids. Hey, they're getting extra money, man. They're getting, driver introductions like super late models. They also get a special moment with Jaden Bolin out of Holden Beach, North Carolina, Jaden Bolin Motorsports, who is there driving for Mike Carper Racing in the 600 Micro Sprint non-wing car to come down and got a picture with every one of the kids as their name was called. Everybody's got thumbs up, and that just added a little bit to it. So we want to thank, again, Jaden Bolin with Jaden Bolin Motorsports for doing that for the kids and, taking time out to do that with those kids are memories, Bill, that'll last a lifetime.
Oh, yeah. And let's look, a couple weeks ago, a few of the drivers may not have known Jaden, but 2 weeks ago, he came out there and put an old school tail whipping on those 600s, winged a couple weeks ago. And a lot of the kids saw Jaden for the first time, and they were really pumped up to know he was coming back wingless on the Mike Carver car again this week. It just set up for some special moments for those kids. It really did.
Yes, it did. And let's just, when you go back, to the driver introduction, you get all the way up to the front. And here it is. I was able to be at the race prior to this one a couple of weeks ago in the last race you guys had, and we're setting up for a duplicate copy of the front row again. You got James, the high side Erskine, driver of the 427 Motorsports. He's on the inside and shoot the gap 25 of Tanai Keith, and there they are. One is sitting on the pole position, one on the outside. The one on the outside is first in points. The one on the inside is second in points. And we knew right from the start we were in for a showdown. And, man, those kids just delivered, man, a phenomenal race, a great feature. And, Erskine, back-to-back trips to Victory Lane inside the Rockfish Speedway. Congratulations goes out to him. He did a phenomenal job, Bill.
Yes, sir. I mean, I think that any of the top five had a chance to win that race in the end. I mean, it was just that close. And, 16 juniors lined up. And anytime you get 16 little kids like that side by side, there's no telling what will happen. But they sorted it out and raced their way there. I mean, it wasn't a wreck fest. It wasn't. Everybody was sorting out and racing their race. There was racing all over the track. And like I said, the top 5 or 6 in my mind, without a doubt, could have won that race at any given time.
Well, and also, you want to give congratulations again, back-to-back wins for the high side kid, James Erskine, who did a phenomenal job. And how cool was it for him to be in Victory Lane and be talking about his sponsors? And one of the sponsors that comes out of his mouth, is Team Wild Child. Well, we give the mic back to him when we start talking about that, and we make a highlight that Willie and Crystal are down in at Lancaster Speedway with the Ultimate Super Late models, and how cool it is. Hey, James, man, you just mentioned, Team Wild Child, and courtesy of them, you just pick up an extra $100. And as soon as I said that, old champ there goes and unzips his driver's suit and sticks his chest out like Superman, and he's rocking a Willie Milliken T-shirt. So, man, his timing in doing that was absolutely perfect. So congratulations to him. But also, man, you got to give a big congratulations. You got to slap some high fives for the number 5, the North Carolina Heartbreaker, Allie Jo Culbertson, best finish of her career. The girl drives a phenomenal race in the feature. She gets off of the trailer. She takes the car off the trailer once she gets to the racetrack. She's the fastest car in hot laps. She's the fastest car in qualifying. She sits on the pole for her heat race. Kind of gave up the bottom of that racetrack a little bit in the heat race, ended up finishing second, which puts her starting inside second row. And her and Tanai Keith, man, they battled it out there for a little while. And, I'm not so sure, the alley had to have been a little bit closer on that restart with about 5 or 6 to go. Erskine would have had his hands full, don't you think, Bill?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was great racing all the way back. You look at the top 10 and there was just solid drivers and they were all making moves. And you never know what's going to happen when you get in lap traffic, right? That's the ultimate equalizer when you come to a big race like that. How many times have you gone to a race and you've seen somebody check out, in a late model race. And then when they get in lap traffic, it's not just going out and getting in the front and leading the whole thing. You gotta get around lap traffic at Rockfish too, because just in a couple of laps you'll be in it.
That's exactly right. And when you say something like that, basically, when you see stuff like that, you see someone who gets out front. Hey, you can take the setup of the car, you can take the air pressure, you can do all. At some point, the driver's got to show up. The driver's got to show up and how to wheel that thing and know exactly where to go, when to go, how to do it. And James Erskine, the high side kid, did a phenomenal job. So congratulations again on the junior sprint win, picking up back-to-back wins here inside the Rockfish Speedway. And now, Bill, we're going to give it over to you. And let's move on over into the 270s. Let's talk about the Mod Lights, the Mod Lights was your final feature, but also the 600 non-wing cars. Man, those guys, listen, if you've never been to Rockfish, I don't know what you're waiting on. You got to get down there because those guys fly around that little bull ring.
Yeah, I mean, and I've said this in the past, Kip, you and I have had this conversation to the first race you came and when you came to the Winter Classic. If you go to Rockfish and you see in the Winter Classic, you see 24 micro 600s coming out of turn 4 and get in the gas, if you're not excited about that, you just don't have a heart. You know what I mean? I mean, it is hardcore, fast racing. I mean, they're turning around there in 11 seconds, you know what I mean, in a 5th mile on dirt. That's just flat getting it. So you're absolutely right. But the 270s, a great night. We had a little bit of a sprinkle. It was actually, you and I were talking about it earlier. The rain was so close to us. It was actually raining in turns 1 and 2, but not in turn 3 and 4. And just sprinkling for just a second. And it was enough for us to have to bring the pack cars out. We let the 270s come back out and put a little bit more fuel in them to make sure they didn't burn up those 2 strokes. And it was Matt Thompson, who's he's super fast, man. I'd put him right there with a lot of the 600 drivers in a 270. Wyatt Davis in a restricted 600, another great run for him. And then Siobhan B in the 10S pulling off the top 3. Just a great show for them. The Carolina Mod Lights, they definitely did not disappoint themselves. They came out just guns blazing, and I can't remember. We started, I guess, 10. There was a couple that broke, Zach Blackwell and a couple others, I think, that couldn't make the start for the feature. But out of the 12 or 13 we had 10 really fast cars. The track was super hooked up on the top. Donovan Jackson spun leading the race and then came all the way back through the field to finish second on the top. Got by Troy Van Allen there the last couple laps to go. But another super race. And Mason Ford came back. He'd been running a lot of asphalt late model up in Wake County. He made an appearance back at Rockfish and took the win in the Carolina Mod Lights. And they're doing really good as a club. They're really getting a good team together there. And I see good things for them. They're going to do a little bit of traveling now in the summer break since this is our halfway point in the season. Then when you came to the micro 600s, like you said, again, it was almost a copy of last 2 weeks' race. Jaden Boland sitting on the pole, fast in practice, fast in qualifying. Sawyer Davis was right behind him on the heat race and really stayed with Jaden a little bit there. Showed a lot of speed. Sawyer ended up with his best finish in the 600 as second place. But, man, Matt Jones, he turned it on and went to the front. And when he got up there, he didn't look back. And, it was kind of a special moment. A lot of people didn't realize Matt and Mark had lost their uncle Tuesday or Wednesday of last week. And Matt called me Friday and asked if he could, pull his trailer in Friday night because they knew they were going to be pushing time. They were pallbearers at their uncle's funeral, and by the time they got back up there, they made it just in time for qualifying. Started the heat race, and then Matt, he was driving with a lot of emotion that night, and ended up picking up the win, man, on behalf of his uncle, which was huge for him and the team. And Matt's no slouch. He's a 4 or 5-time champion at Rockfish Speedway in the micro 600s, and it was just really cool. Another thing that just blew my mind, I don't think his mother was very happy, but Biscuit Williams, after that tremendous wreck at Millbridge Speedway that basically, damaged his lungs, his back, and everything else, he had been coming and just jumping in, starting the feature and pulling off to keep his points. He got out there this weekend, and then he never pulled off, and he ended up, riding around there pretty good and ended up finishing, I think, in the top 5. Yeah, he finished 4th place. So I don't think his mother was very happy with him when he got out of the car, but, great to see him back. I think they're actually headed up to Eldora this weekend, but, just great overall to see everybody. Mark Jones, Jaden ended up spinning out or hit the tires, brought out the caution, and then drove it all the way back to 5th place. So another good night for Jaden in the Mike Carver car, and that's a special car. And Mike's been a good supporter of Rockfish Speedway here lately, and it's great racing out there for the Micro 600s. For anybody that missed it or has never been to Rockfish, the 600s are probably the fastest thing around here. I mean, they are super quick out of the gate and very aggressive. So, yeah, it was a heck of a show.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. Those guys put on a great show. But, Bill, one thing that I want to do is I'd like to kind of rewind just a little bit and go back to that 270 race. You talk about a kid, Wyatt Davis, who finishes second. Well, the week before that, he won.
That's right.
He was the feature winner. He was a feature winner in that class. And that kid drove a junior sprint last year.
Yep.
Or year before last, or what? Because I remember seeing him because I had him in racing for Heroes Victory Lane inside the Field Motor Speedway, and 10 years old, 10, 11 years old, however old he is. I mean, regardless. I mean, out of a junior sprint dude, he walked the dog on him 2 weeks ago. The race prior to this, and man, congratulations, man, to Wyatt Davis, man. What an awesome job.
I was just sitting here, Kip. It was funny today. I had a memory pop up, I guess, from 2015 or 16 that showed Mason Ford, and I'll post a picture tonight on Facebook, in the old style go-karts we used to run. And now here Mason was this past weekend feature winner in the Mod Lights, and he's racing an asphalt late model at Wake County. So to go back, and I guess that's the special part for me, is going back 10 years now that I've run the track and seeing all the drivers that have come out there, started really young, the first time out. Fireball Colbert, right? He's in an asphalt car, going to be running a late model next year. He started out in a junior sprint, wouldn't talk to anybody. These kids, it's not only making them better racers, but it's making them better people. They're communicating, they're hanging out, they're making friends at the racetrack. I mean, you've seen it. It's special to see the junior sprints. They get out of a race, win, lose, or draw, they're still out playing football, hanging out, eating French fries together over there at the snack bar. I mean, it doesn't bother them. They're just there having a good time, and that's the best part of it.
Well, when you talk about going back and seeing, hey, in the 10 years, man, that you've been at the track, you firsthand have seen the development of these guys. Hey, I remember when this guy was doing this. Now look at him now. He's doing this. And that's where we, with our podcast, when we started our little deal with the Kids Week, we've got a big heart for kids, man. We love the junior sprints. I love it when they come to Fayetteville because, Fayetteville, man, our track is quite a bit bigger than your track. But the thing is we run a 12-lap feature, and with everything being legal, equal, everybody running on the same platform, you can run a 12-lap feature at Fayetteville Speedway, and don't be surprised if you have 4, 5, 6 lead changes. And the point I'm trying to make is the slogan that we came up with, hey, cheer for these kids today, because tomorrow they will be the heroes that are packing out the grandstands that you pay money to go see every Saturday night elsewhere. And that's what you're talking about when you talk about, hey, Mason Ford way back 10 years ago. And then the Fireball, Colbreth, and, all these other kids that you've seen kind of, get their feet wet right there at your racetrack and look at them, today, what they're doing. It's just awesome.
I mean, Bradley Malden was started in a junior sprint his career at Rockfish and was last year's Micro 600 points champion. You know what I mean? So it's really cool. Ben McCall's in a 305. He used to run, and Dale Trotter, all these guys now that are racing, and guys that run bigger cars, Colton Beasley and Donovan and Dustin and all these guys, man, that ran with us back in the day. And Donovan Jackson's another good example of how much he's wheeling now, a late model and a modified. The names go on and on and on, and but it's just really cool. The other thing that's cool about the junior sprint division, we're trying to make it as fair and affordable as possible. So everybody saw the post from James Erskine. A lot of people asking what was going on. Was what was the deal with the motor? He had won 2 races in a row. We decided, and we talked about this in the beginning of the season, in order to make everything fair, if you win multiple races, don't be surprised if I don't come swap your motor out for a brand new one and take yours and send it down there to Randy at Dyno Cams, and let's check it out and see. And if it's legit, we'll send it back, reseal it, and give it back to him. And if it's not, we'll go from there. And there's a lot of consequences to that. So we'll find out here shortly. But yeah, man, it's just it's fair, it's fun, and hopefully it'll continue to grow that way, and kids will go. All these kids eventually you're going to see them in something different. They're going to be in a late model, super street, modified, who knows what. And it's also cool to see them take different paths, right? Some kids, Foster boys, doing a great job in the mod light, and he may be in an open wheel modified down the road, whereas some of the other kids might be sprint car drivers. I mean, Sawyer Davis, that's what he wants to do, an open wheel. And, you never know. You'll see him out there at Fayetteville Motor Speedway flying around there in a modified or a super late model during the class, maybe, so who knows?
And it's always cool, too, to hear you talk about the terrorizing twins, the Foster boys. I remember seeing them battle it out, last year winning and, visiting Victory Lane down at Rockfish. But now they've kind of passed that baton down to Alexis, the sister. She drives. Now she's getting her feet wet, and then that's a great family, man. That whole entire group, just a really great family. And I can tell you, if Rockfish is not running, it don't matter. Somewhere remotely close. You go to the racetrack, you're going to see the Fosters. They're going to be at a racetrack somewhere all the time. It's just really, man, such a neat deal to see all that there inside the Rockfish Speedway. But, we did end up the last race of the first half of your 2023 season. So now let's talk about what's coming up when we roll back in to part 2 of the second half of the season. September 2nd, is that the date, or am I close on that?
September 2nd is when we'll come back. And then, look, we're hot and heavy. The month of September, we have 3 races where we only normally run twice a month. We're actually running 3 races. We're running the 2nd, the 16th, and the 30th of September. And then we're firing right back-to-back going in October 7th, which will be a huge race. And then the October 28th race we're talking about, we did the Megan race for breast cancer, McMillan last year. It was $1,000 to win Mod Light show. I'm actually in conversation right now trying to get the Sharp Mini late models there for a special show, and maybe even make that a Friday, Saturday event to help some cars come from out of town. That would be an excellent. They put on a hell of a show a few years ago when they came. And then, of course, we start kicking that can down the road later in the season. And I know it seems like it's a long ways away, but November 16th, 17th, and 18th, and we'll start with the junior sprints. And I'm even trying to get the juice boxes back in there for Thursday night also to run with the junior sprints. Junior sprints is going to be a huge event. Last year, if you missed it, it was the first year that we started the Winter Classic off on a Thursday night with the junior sprints, fireworks, the whole 9 yards. It really felt like a World of Outlaw show for the kids, and we're going to try to duplicate that again this year. And we've got some sponsors that are already talking about it. And I want to thank, Chris Polk at Green Industries. He was one last year that they really chipped in and helped that whole night's event for them. And, we're really looking forward to it. And then the 17th, 18th will be the 270s and the 600s. So it's a micro show that we've done from way back. Larry Long and I actually started the event at Rockfish, and it's grown and grown and grown. And we get some of the best drivers, the Kyle Spences and all these guys that, phenomenal show. Last year, Haley Deegan showed up, and her boyfriend Chase ended up winning Friday night. And there's just so much entertainment and people out there that just love racing, and it's just a great environment. If you have never been, you're really missing out if you're not at the Winter Classic.
Well, I can go ahead and tell you, looking at the schedule inside of Fayetteville Motor Speedway, I think we're going to be off a couple of those nights in September. So, hey, we're going to go ahead and try to look on your schedule and make sure. I know for sure September the 2nd. I've already got that one written down in my calendar. Our podcast crew, we're going to come back and don't want to say maybe so much just yet, but hey, we might just, the way we ended the first part of the season, we might do some kind of huge kickoff for the second part of the season too. So everybody stay tuned for that on the Rockfish Speedway, on the Voice of Victory Lane podcast Facebook page. The wheels are turning. The wheels are turning because we want to do something big again for the kids. And most time, how people, how it rolls, Bill. You do something one time, got a little bit bigger the next time. And we're going to keep right on rolling this thing until we get ready to. I love the way you called it last year. You introduced it to me as kind of like to be there to, on the junior sprints, we did driver introduction on the Speedway that night, the prelude to the Winter Classic. kind of like the prelude to the Eldora. It was just a really, really cool deal, and we're looking forward, man, to being back with you guys a whole lot more, as much as we can.
Yes, sir. And I promise I'm going to go ahead and get the permits for the fireworks this year, so we're not limited to the fireworks show that we had last year. People call the sheriff's department. It was a Thursday night, but I'll be sure to try to get permits with Hope County this year and try to make that thing really exciting for the kids and the fans.
Well, anything that's going on at Rockfish, man, it's always first class. It's going to be awesome, and we look forward to being back. And right before we get ready to close the show, Bill, let's take just a moment. You as a promoter there at Rockfish, if you want to take a few moments, man, just to kind of give a couple of shout outs to track sponsors if you want to, or man, some of those guys that help you, Harvey and the rest of the guys out there, Frankie, man, that work their tails off, because a promoter right by himself cannot run this deal and run an efficient show the way you guys do at Rockfish. I have never seen, a well-oiled machine like that at a racetrack. 4 classes, 5 classes, it doesn't matter, heat races, qualifying, whatever. I mean, and you're out of there by 8:30, 8:45, 9 o'clock at the latest, on most cases. And you can't have that all the time, but man, you do have a phenomenal staff there, and they've been very welcoming to me and to our family whenever we come. And, it's just, I want to give you an opportunity, man, to thank those guys for what they do for you.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I appreciate it, Kip. Definitely the staff. We've went through a lot of great people, right? I mean, Larry and Billy and some of the guys that have helped me out there just taught me a lot about how to run the racetrack. And as you know, you've been out there behind the scenes a few nights prior, and you see all the work that's going in out there. I mean, you just don't get up Saturday and go over there at noontime and get everything ready. I mean, you start Thursday night, you're mowing the grass prior to that. But Jerry Scott, Harvey Scott down there in the chute, they're keeping things going. I mean, you're not going to be late to the chute and get out there. I promise you, they're going to be, if you're not there, they're moving on without you. I got Dale in the flag stand, Dale Long. He's done a great job for us and come a long way as a flagger. But then I got guys like, Lewis Brown who fill in when he can't be there. Barb's in the tower behind the scenes, and Justina's in the registration trailer. And, Jonathan's up there doing the podcast and video and all the announcement, and he's trying to keep the music going and all the stuff, to keep the show going. Then you got people at the scale. Richie's dad's over there at the scale, or Little Bill's out there. My wife, Sydney, the whole crew, Haley, out there at the ticket booth, right? You got to get in, you got to get wristbands. And then I got the staff in the infield. You got Todd, and you got John L. at EMTs, and you got, Mr. Yako, right? Frankie, all these guys. It takes, such a huge group to help keep it going. Sanford Contractors, we got their motor grader and water truck out there. Just some great, great people. I could name millions of people, but I want to give a shout out particularly to the staff that's there every week behind the scene. Dan Messier, his grandson Aiden. They've been gone the last couple of weeks, but they're down there running scores over and putting times up on the board. And Dan's done a lot behind the scenes. Him and I started the junior sprint division, went up to Virginia and pulled our first motor, talked to a guy up there about what would you do for a motor that would make these cars go, and trying to keep it affordable too, man. And that's, I think we've done that. And there's 20 some junior sprints. We could have a full field of junior sprints there at the next big event. If the times line up and everybody can be here at one time, we got a big class of these cars. So just everybody that works there. And then the Hope County EMS, right? I mean, I got 2 of those people that come out in an ambulance that are on staff. This week we had their supervisor sitting out there with them and trying to keep everybody safe in the heat and just trying to take care of everyone. And they do a great job. The Winter Classic, Cotton Fire Department come out, Hank Harris and his whole team. They bring the extrication tools. I mean, we've had some really scary scenarios out there, and it takes a lot of people to put this thing on, man. It really does. And then,
and we got to give you an opportunity to talk about the one who just blows your Facebook up with such great, awesome action photos, trackside photography, man.
Oh, yeah.
She does a phenomenal job.
Christina's in a whole nother world. Ever since she's come out there, it's been a real blessing to have her out there. Trackside photography, we see her kids are set up at a table and they're selling pictures and they're doing great stuff. I mean, making sure there's good snapshots of the cars, but then doing portraits for the drivers, man. Those little junior sprint drivers, those will look like professional race car studio shoots, and yeah, I got to thank her. She's doing a great job to help promote and get the word, excuse me, get the word out. So it takes everybody, man. It truly is a team, kind of like your podcast. I know, you're the face of the podcast, but I'm sure there's a lot of people to help you get everything set up. And you see it at Fayetteville. There's so many people that it takes to keep it going, man. It really is.
Oh, it does, and it takes people that, I mean, you have to be a dirt track race fan, or you're just not going to fit in there. And also, from time to time when you have weather, it's always got to be real nice. When you've been in the Gregory Pool business, running Caterpillar equipment, selling Caterpillar equipment, it's always got to be real cool, real a blessing to know, hey, up my sleeve, if I got a question about track prep, I can always call old WG, the Mr. Smooth, the guy who does it all at Fayetteville.
Oh yeah, and we've got the equipment, and that's something people have seen in the past. If it'll stop, Kenneth thought you did a great job back in the day when they built the track. There's irrigation, storm drain, everything underneath there. So as long as it'll stop raining and the water will go to the drain, we can get the race in. I mean, I can skim off with the best of them on a motor grader. Billy McFadden taught me a lot there, and we have the tools and the equipment. We went out and invested in tractors and lily tillers and all this stuff from Iowa Farm Equipment to make sure, we had whatever it takes. If that track comes apart in intermission, I promise you, my crew's out there and we're getting it fixed.
Yeah, well, as we close out tonight's show, two other things I want to hit on, Bill, before we go. We talked about all the people that were instrumental in this big event this past Saturday night with our junior sprints race. Man, we just, from the bottom of our heart, man, we just want to thank everyone that did anything at all. You brought up just a few moments ago some of your safety crew that I didn't even know were part of it, that actually gave some money for second and third. But also want to make a real quick mention to the number 5 team, the North Carolina Heartbreaker. They gave away some tickets, to a rodeo that's coming up. And we want to thank them as well, Bill. So you can talk about, I'm not exactly sure who got those. I think it was fifth and 10th place and maybe the last person or whatever in the junior sprints race.
Yeah, it was 5th, 10th, and 15th was the fairest way to do it, just 5 increments. Got 2 tickets to the rodeo thanks to Culberson Electric. And we're going to get them some backdrops. They're going to set up a little Rockfish display, and they're bringing Allie Joe's car out there. I think it's the 21st of this month. And so, yeah, man, we got a lot of people behind the scenes. Or 22nd. I think it is the 22nd of this month. So they'll be set up and ready to go at the rodeo. So the 5th place, 10th place, and 15th place cars, 2 tickets to the rodeo. That's pretty cool.
Also, the last deal, and then we're going to shut it down. We want to give a huge welcome to first-time visitor at the Rockfish Speedway. We know he'll be back. He has to be, without a doubt. I don't mind giving him a shout-out because the guy loves dirt track racing. Marion House made his first trip down to Rockfish Speedway. And, Bill, I've heard from him Sunday. I heard from him on Monday. Even today on Tuesday, man, as we're doing our podcast here, hey, he's still talking about how much he loves the Rockfish Speedway. And you can look for him to be back. And, man, I know that was special for you to see him for the first time at Rockfish.
Yeah, man, it goes way back. I remember watching Marion on the back of the grandstands, looking back down by the bathrooms, and he would flag for the little kids running around in a circle, having run races down there on a little dirt track they had, and keeping track of where everybody was at and doing all that for the kids. And I've seen him every time there's a race at Fayetteville Motor Speedway or anywhere else when somebody's racing local. He's in the stands, guaranteed to see him there. So it was just pretty cool. I invited him out. He wanted to come hang out with the Voice of Victory Lane podcast and get to meet all the drivers too. And we kind of gave him some VIP. So we put him up in the tower, which was a good day. I promise you, Barb's got that thing about 70, 72 degrees up there. And so it gave him a chance to get up there and see what they see from the broadcast booth and the tower, the scoring tower and all that stuff. So I think he had a great time. He sent me a message and said he really enjoyed it. I guarantee you he'll be with you this weekend at the Carolina Clash, though.
Oh, you can better believe that. He'll be the first one at the gate before they turn the key to unlock it to let anybody in. That's Marion House, one of our biggest dirt track race fans in our Fayetteville, North Carolina area. He goes to Lakeview, County Line, Halifax, and made his first trip down to the Rockfish Speedway this weekend and really, really enjoyed himself. So, Bill, we're going to run out of time, man. Just want to thank you real quick, man, for everything that you allow us to be a part of what you guys got going on down there. And thanks, man, so much for taking time after working all day in the hot heat and taking time to do a show with us to do this racing recap.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, Kip. Thanks to everybody from the Voice of Victory Lane for making it a special weekend with us. Like you said, it takes a lot of people to put that on, but we appreciate everybody.
All right, man. Thank you so much, Bill. We're going to see you guys soon. We'll be back with you guys September the 2nd inside the Rockfish Speedway as we kick off the second half of the 2023 season. We hope you'll come and join us. Follow us on Facebook at the Voice of Victory Lane Podcast. You can also always follow the Rockfish Speedway on their Facebook page, and you can kind of see what's going on all the time. As we close out tonight's show, we're going to hear from Atwell Exterior Services out of Greenville, North Carolina. Trevor Latwell and Team Atwell Racing, huge supporters of our show. Hey, and as we close every one of our shows, we'll do it just the same tonight. Hey, always be on the lookout. We could be coming to a racetrack near you, and you could be who we're talking about next, right here on the Voice of Victory Lane Podcast. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Get ready. Coming up Thursday night, we'll be having Joey Chapman with the Carolina Clash Super Late Models. They're coming to the Fayetteville Motor Speedway this weekend. The Carolina Bull Ring will be the greatest place to watch the race. $5,000 to win for Super Late Models, $500 to start. Hey, check us out, 7 o'clock Thursday night, right here on the Voice of Victory Lane Podcast.
Atwell Exterior Services and Team Atwell ride with a winner. Congratulations to Trevor Atwell and the team at Atwell Exterior Services in Greenville, North Carolina. Atwell is the top-rated roofing and exterior renovations company in racing country, and Team Atwell has sponsored so many great racing teams for years. Ride with a winner on your roof or on the track. Atwell Exterior Services. Atwell Exterior Services and Team Atwell Racing. Ride with a winner.